From Canterbury Park in Shakopee, Minnesota, this is The Final Table.
I was supposed to go broke on that hand, honey. Except I forgot one thing. I can dodge bullets, baby.
Please, one time. Come on, dude.
One bet every week to see who's going to win, and there are some pretty grave consequences. So go ahead and set the terms.
No, there's no way he can set the terms.
I'm actually really good at loading my dishwasher, but I don't really even see why we need to watch this.
Oh my God, I'm having a tough time, guys.
Hello and welcome once again to the show that puts a bit of a twist on traditional poker programming, The Final Table. I am Joe Stapleton alongside a poker Hall of Famer, Phil Hellmuth Jr., and over here is a guy that could make all of your money disappear, Antonio Esfandiari. Do you still go by the Magician?
I think the commentators call me the Magician. I obviously never go by the Magician, but I answer to it when called upon.
Well, that's one of those traditional poker shows things, so we're just not even going to do it. We're not going to do it on this one. This show is a little bit different. Phil, you know we play the show five-handed, keep things moving a little bit, keeps the action going.
I like it. I like five-handed because, I mean, you catch more conversation, more action, and I think five-handed is a great format.
So not only are we going to have great analysis from the poker mind sitting next to me, but these guys are a barrel of laughs too. We wager every single week on who's going to win. And if you pick the wrong guy, there are some grave consequences.
Let's not bring up sore subject.
We're definitely bringing it up. Roll it. Oh boy, oh boy. Before we give Antonio the chance to get revenge from last week, let's find out who we have to choose from this week's Final Table. Benjamin Valder from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Ben reads people for a living. Interesting. If he were stranded on a desert island, he would bring his phone and some drink, and he looks up to Swaggy P. Here we go. Robbie Wazwaz, coming to our table all the way from Jerusalem. He enjoys dill pickle chips. The funniest costume he's ever worn was Dracula. Has the most punchable face at the table according to the other four players. And his favorite magazine to read on business trips is Time. Next up is Dennis Stevermeyer. He is from Minnesota Lake, Minnesota. He wakes up to Bloody Marys, likes the song Moon Dance by Van Morrison, boasts the largest collection of Walker Texas Ranger VHS tapes in all of Minnesota, and occasionally smokes a mean pork chop. Next up, Jason Seitz from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. He's a family man in the real estate game. He wishes he were Superman, loves to drink Mellow Yellow. He still watches Law & Order, and he's proud of it. And finally, Roger Johnson from Grand Forks, North Dakota. He had some Mexican food just before taking his seat. He feels strongly that Ben is the weakest player at the table. Bert. He listed businessman as his occupation, and he loves flying. If this guy can fly, he's definitely my pick. Now that we've honed in on what we're working with this week, it's time to get to the meat and potatoes of the show, Snap Call. And this is where we're each going to make a pick to see who wins this tournament. And if we're wrong, we're going to have to pay the price very, very dearly. We'll get to that in a second. Got a pick? Got a snap call?
I'm gonna go with Superman.
You're gonna go with Superman?
You can't beat Superman. He was my favorite when I was a kid, still is. Jason Seitz is my man.
God, I love Superman. That's such a great pick. I mean, Superman, and by the way, oh, never mind. I'm gonna take Roger because he likes flying, and I figure anybody who's a pilot probably knows a lot about a lot of different things. And the other guy, I don't like the fact that he wakes up to Bloody Marys. That's going to catch up with him late in the tournament if he's drank too much.
Well, Phil, I think you may have misinterpreted Roger Johnson when he said he loves flying. I think he means he loves being a passenger on an airplane, not necessarily a pilot. I'm perfectly happy for you to go with that pick, though. I'm going to go with Dennis Stevermeyer, the Moon Dance guy. Van Morrison, that's a pretty chill playlist.
And he doesn't know Phil Hellmuth personally, so finally someone that Phil doesn't know on a personal level, we have to go with that.
And plus he's got the Minnesota's largest collection of Walker Texas Ranger tapes. I mean, the guy obviously knows his stuff. Well, Antonio, you are in not great shape yet again. You've chosen the shortest stack at the table, Jason Seitz, Superman. Phil's choice. Roger Johnson, 2.3 million. That is the chip leader. Woohoo! But how am I doing? Dennis has got 1.4 million. I'm very confident in that pick. I'm fine with it. My guy was middle of the road last time, ended up winning the thing. So those are the standings there. Let's reveal what this tournament's punishment is officially. And the losers this week, guys, are going to end up with a little egg on their face. Huh?
Literally a little egg on
yes,
their face.
it is literally egg on the face. Whoever loses this week is going to have an egg smashed on their forehead at the hands of the winner. Antonio, the good news is, I mean, you do have the shortest egg at the table, but the good news is that, I mean, compared to eating raw frog's legs, this is going to be a walk in the park for you.
I don't know about a walk in the park. If I have to forever, for the rest of my life, see a video on YouTube of Phil Hellmuth crushing an egg on my face, it's going to hurt very much. And right now, he's a 90% favorite to do that to me, and I'm not happy about it.
Very few people would I enjoy egging, but I know that you're all about punishment and punishing, and you and I have this long rivalry, so I'm going to take a little bit of enjoyment, a little quid pro quo.
And the worst part, Antonio, is that these aren't organic or cage-free or any of the things you demand.
It's okay. When I eat eggs, organic, but eggs to my face, I'm okay with any egg. No problem.
All right, let's get cards in the air and kick it on down to Final Tableville with Maria Ho and Dave Tuckman.
Hello and welcome. We are in Canterbury Park in Shakopee, Minnesota. I'm David Tuckman alongside Maria Ho. 5 players remain, $101,000 up top. You heard the players' bios from Joe. Some interesting players here.
I think it's good your watch. Pretty, and the watch.
Some interesting last names. I might have a tough time today.
I will guide you through it. I will hold your hand. 70. So blinds are 15-30, as you can see in the bottom right corner of your screen. That is Stevermer with the ace-9 of clubs. He's going to open to 70,000. And Rob Wazwaz calls with 2 black 8s. By the way, he's got one of my favorite last names I've ever seen. If I was a woman, I would want to be Mrs. Wazwaz.
No?
I mean, do you
I want to be Mr. Wazwaz.
Okay.
No?
I don't know if that's my first
It's
choice
McDonald's.
for
It's
a
like
last
Culver's.
name. But there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know. I don't know. We
He's
have
not
different
eating there.
tastes
He's
and last
lost.
names.
I suppose.
Apparently, clearly.
Roger Johnson calls from the small blind. Ace-Jack. It's a hand you might see some players 3-bet with out of the small blind. He decides just to
How
call.
nitty am I? This is just terrible. It's 70?
Yeah, these starting hands are all, fairly standard, I think, so far. They've all played it how I think they should play it. I think, nobody's made any folds that they shouldn't be making, and nobody's getting out of line.
Ben Valder lets it go out of the big blind. The flop is 4-3 deuce. No suits. 8 still in the lead. Johnson checks.
90.
Stevermer is going to put a continuation bet against his 2 opponents. He bets 90,000. Wazwaz beats him in the pot, though.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to go anywhere here. He has an overpair to the board, and usually when somebody does open, you are putting them on 2 big overs, so he feels fairly good about this flop.
Now, Robbie Wazwaz, by the way, he says he's a businessman. To me, he looks like he should be like a club promoter. Right? Look at him. Left side of your screen in the red shirt.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if he just unbuttons one more button, he should definitely be a club promoter in Miami.
I can buy that. Johnson, by the way, turns the best hand with the jack.
And now that the river pairs the 4, I would be shocked if Johnson doesn't come out firing for value here, and it looks like he does.
Good news, you don't need to be shocked. Stevermer gets rid of it, and this is a tough spot for Wazwaz.
It is, but I don't think that Johnson would lead into 2 people without having 8s beat here. I know, it's a little difficult to put him on ace-jack specifically, but he definitely could have a 4 and have played it this way.
Got the 8-4 there for everything. So
Would he be calling with very many 4s out of the small blind?
That's a good question. I think 5-4 suited isn't out of the realm of possibility. Ace-4 suited isn't either. But there's not a ton of 4s. There's a few.
Well, Wazwaz is thinking about this one. Once again, he's in the red shirt. Roger Johnson in the blue shirt. And Johnson is going to get paid off. Good start for Roger. Roger, by the way, from Grand Forks, North Dakota. Very important news about him. He just ate Mexican food, which makes me very happy that we're in the studio and not sitting next to him.
I was just thinking that.
Right. Johnson's got to be really happy to think that he thinks that the weakest player is on his left.
Yeah, absolutely. I know if I had the weakest player to my left in a 5-handed table, I would feel very, very good about my chances in the tournament.
Action on Jason's sights. That is Antonio's pick. He actually started this final table with the shortest stack, and you might be wondering, why would Antonio pick him? Well, they actually did not know how many chips these players had before they had to make their picks. Picks based on very much incomplete information. Sights picks up jacks, though. A good start for him, and he is raised to 100,000.
And Sights is in the small blind versus Johnson in the big blind. And I love these blind versus blind confrontations. I think people are always putting people on way weaker hands. So when you wake up with jacks here, you'll probably get a decent amount of action, which is great for his short stack.
Can you imagine if, somebody was watching this and did not know anything about poker and they just thought you liked blind on blind confrontations, like two blind people just beating the crap out of each other?
Yeah, but luckily they know me as the nice, sweet, sometimes
If they watch the first 2 episodes of this show, they know you as Maria Hater Ho.
So it looks like on this flop, Sights is still ahead here, but with ace high, that flop doesn't look too bad to Johnson. He's like, I have the ace of diamonds, it's a paired board, he was raising from the small blind. Lots of reasons to continue on with the hand for sure.
I mean, frankly, this is a hand that where the chips easily could have gone in pre-flop.
Absolutely. I think against Sights' stack size, if I were Johnson, I would have actually just 3-bet all in pre. Either way, though, the chips do get in the middle, and now it looks like Sights' tournament life is on the line.
He could hit a...
Antonio's boy, 2 cards away, Queen of Hearts. So far, so good for Sights and Antonio.
So what does Antonio have to do again if Sights were to get knocked out right now?
He gets an egg in the face if an ace falls on the river. But it's not an ace. Instead, Sights fills up,
showing off with the jack in the river.
and he is going to double up to 785,000. Just a small hit for Johnson, who's got plenty of chips. But for now, Antonio's safe. We're safe. More poker after this. Closed captioning is brought to you as a public service by the Final Table. Welcome back to Canterbury Park Card Club. Maria Ho, David Tuckman, here for you.
Jack 3, Jack,
Lines
Jack,
continue at 20,000, 40,000.
As long as it has.
We have not had any casualties as of yet. I like the symbol. I like the horse in the background. I feel like Canterbury Park. Not only can I watch horse racing, play cards, but I can read a book there.
I think I would have been
Really?
the whole time.
It just feels like I can read a book there. Look at the fans, by the way. You see those fans watching?
Yeah.
On the edge of their seat.
I see Mrs. Waz out there.
Waz is all in for 363,000.
I'm all in.
Oh. Sights all in over the top.
Got the drink. And
This all seems pretty standard so far. King 3 suited is definitely good enough with a sub 10 big blind stack to shove. It's just unfortunate for him that Sights woke up with a hand that actually has Waz hands dominated.
Spade.
So shoving King 3 suited is actually standard from the cutoff?
I think King 5 suited is probably a little bit better, but I think King 3 suited is fine in a 5-handed spot.
That is top analysis. That's why we have her. King 5, guys, better than King 3.
Well,
Sights is in great shape here.
Baseball.
Waz looking for an
The
ace
is
and
maximum
only an
pain,
ace
like, if
to
we're gonna
chop.
do it.
Zingo!
oh wow! Sit back down. I love that. This is my tried and true. If you are behind on the turn, you need to stand up, get your stuff, walk away, look back, and for sure you're gonna bink the card on the river.
I'm kind of glad Waz won because none of our co-hosts have him as their
I'll give him an
horse.
extra chip too.
So I'm rooting for Waz. And I love his name.
You just want him to stay in the tournament so you can continue to say his name throughout the entire show.
Pretty much.
Boost of energy.
I mean, do you realize how
We'll go
many
ball back.
names I've said in my life? Weird names? I mean, I don't want to say people's names are weird, but when it's as simple as Waz Waz,
I was wondering where we're gonna have the phone.
I mean, I feel like I'm like it's a Muppet, right?
Oh, absolutely. Free
What
photo for the final
color
table.
would the Waz Waz Muppet be? I'm thinking like,
I feel like orange.
I was just gonna say
Orange with like red feathers.
We're on the
coming
same
coming
wavelength
out.
today.
It's a prolonged look at the ace.
Players all in.
And Waz Waz is all in. So the player who has been voted as having the most punchable face at the table is once again all in, at risk, and way behind.
Roger, you're not gonna get another bad luck.
Pot is 937,000 chips.
So Waz Waz finds himself behind again, but if he stands up out of his chair and starts walking away, I'm pretty sure he's gonna survive this.
Well, he's still seated last time we saw. Here's the flop. There's the queen. And hearts. Wow, what a flop for Waz Waz.
Queen in the window and 2 hearts behind it. I mean, what better flop could Waz Waz get in this spot?
Waz Waz now a 4-1 favorite to survive. Do you stand now? Now that you're way ahead?
No. Only when you're behind.
Only when you're behind. Okay, so Johnson is looking for an ace or a 10, but the 10 cannot be a heart.
Let's make it.
And Johnson can't stand up because it's not his tournament life at risk.
It's gonna be way more
There's
fun
rules
if
to
I
this.
stay in.
It's protocol.
Waz Waz clearly subscribes to Maria Ho's theory. 5 of diamonds on the river, and the Waz Waz survives.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know, I'm not one to judge a book by its cover, but I'm going to go on a limb and say none of the 5 players at this table have won a World Series of Poker bracelet. But
380.
Phil has.
Really? I wouldn't know that because he never talks about it.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't talk about himself. Such a humble man. But that is going to bring us to the trivia question of the week. Besides Phil, can you name the 5 people who have won 8 or more World Series of Poker bracelets lifetime? Don't say the answer. Let
I
our
don't
audience
even
think
know.
about it. Well, let our audience think about it, and we'll revisit it after our next break. Blinds 20,000, 40,000. Waz Waz with the 8s.
80.
Raised to 80.
He's going to raise to 80,000. Jason Seitz with 7s.
And you know, I think he's just thinking about whether he wants to call here or possibly 3-bet. The way he's been playing, though, I'm imagining that he's just going to flat. But I think there's some argument to be made for 3-betting. It kind of depends on, you know, how active the original opener has been, what your stack sizes are. But, you know, flatting is my go-to most of the time.
One of the most frustrating things about poker, I find, is the answer to every question is, it depends.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the beauty of the game and the frustrating part of this game.
Walder looks at Jack 4.
I'm all in.
And it takes about a second for him to go, I'm all in, like a boss. He just waved his hand.
He's like, you know what, Jack 4 suited, I got some fold equity. I don't think you guys have anything you can call with me with, so here goes nothing.
Well, it's an interesting
Oh
spot.
my gosh,
You get the 8s to fold?
I don't think I would fold the 8s against 15 big blinds there.
And Seitz is thinking about what to do with 7s. Do you like the spot? I mean, forget about the fact that he has Jack 4. Is it a good spot to 3-bet shove his 15 big blind stack?
I do like the spot because it looks like Seitz is weak here when he just flats, and you know, maybe he has some history with Waz Waz and thinks he might be opening light. So I don't mind it actually. I actually like his shove better than I think I like Waz Waz's fold with 8s there.
Stick around. The answer to our trivia question of the week when we come back. Welcome back to the final table. We're in Shakopee, Minnesota. David Tuckman, Maria Ho, and we were all anxiously awaiting the results of the trivia question, and here they are. Not a surprise. I mean, 5 of the best of all time.
Yeah, no surprises here. And I know that there's a lot of other top players that I had in mind that definitely just fall short of the top 5.
Is there any chance that
button
any
jump,
of the
that was a
new
nice
crop of players is ever going to be able to get 8, 9, 10 World Series of Poker bracelets? The fields are so large.
Yeah, I definitely think due to the field sizes, it'll be very, very tough. I mean, there are more events now in the World Series, but most likely,
Amber, you have to
Phil
talk
Hellmuth,
John
your
into letting us
position
go
is
see,
safe.
Andy Grammer
Nobody's
tomorrow.
going to catch you.
Well, the man who loves to fly, Roger Johnson, picks up jacks, and he is going to raise to 100,000. That's 2.5 times the big blind, or 2.5x, we like to say in the poker world. Waz likes to play a lot of hands. He's going to call, and this is a flop he might get himself in a little bit of trouble with, as he flops second pair with top kicker.
Yeah, it's a reasonable call here from Waz pre-flop. Johnson feels good about his hand right now, and you can't really blame Waz for calling if he does, because he does have a backdoor flush draw. He has middle pair.
Now, when Waz calls, if you're Johnson, what kind of hands do you put him on? Because, you know, Johnson does have some of the blockers to the straight draws.
Yeah, it'll be very unlikely for Waz to have hands like Jack 10 or Jack 9 here because of the blockers. He definitely can have other 10s, though, in his range, Ace 10, Ace 9. Those are all possibilities.
Right, obviously Jack 8, Queen Jack a little bit less likely. There's a 10, so that's going to give Johnson a little bit of pause. He's going to check it back. Do you like to check back?
I do. I think that, you know, there could be an argument made for betting, but I think given the blockers situation, I probably think checking back is better.
Well, Johnson's going to love the river. And at this point, he's just hoping and praying Waz actually made something. Maybe he's slow playing trip 10s, as he has top full house.
300.
And this is interesting. You know, I think if I were Waz, I don't know if I would want to call this river. I think Johnson definitely can have hands like King Queen, which he checks back. Waz doesn't block any of those hands, any straights that get there. I think it just really depends on his history with Johnson and whether or not he thinks Johnson would be playing a hand this way as a bluff.
And to your point, the 10 is kind of a scare card for any of the overpairs. Johnson could have aces, kings, queens, or what he has, which is jacks. Waz contemplating his next move.
Oh,
And he's going to make a nice laydown.
it's a good laydown.
I mean, check call the flop and then check fold. That's plays the hand to perfection.
Pretty much lost the minimum there.
We are in Canterbury Park Card Club. I like it here. I don't spend too much time in Minnesota. I think I need to a little bit more.
What is your best Minnesota accent? You know they have like a strong accent, right?
Yeah, of course. Every time I try to do a Minnesota accent, I sound like a Canadian, though.
Well, that makes sense because Canada's just north of there.
She's not just a pretty face, boys. Well, don't you know? How's that? Don't you know?
Oh my gosh.
Is that Irish?
I don't know what that is.
A boot? Eh?
It is essentially a
105.
mix of Canadian and Minnesota.
I can do French Canadian. I shoot the puck into the hockey net and I play the game and...
Looks like Valder's going to raise here with ace-5 of hearts, and Waz is going to move all in with sixes. You know, it's about a 17 big blind
675.
shove.
Oh, that's a big number.
I like it. I didn't expect to see this from him, and I think this is a pretty easy fold for Valder, to be honest. I don't think you can be raise calling off ace-5 suited here.
Wow.
Wow, indeed. What do you think of the tie sideways hat look?
Well, I think that
Well, this is so
I don't
far. We
know
saw
if I'm a
the-
fan.
saw the
Haven't
king
really
three.
seen the look before, so maybe I'm just not
Where's
used
the
to
second
it.
one? King,
What do you think?
I've never had.
Memory's better
I
than me.
remember.
You
The best
remember.
hand I've had is King Queen of Hearts.
King Queen. He had King Queen.
I think
Yeah.
he's actually asking the other players at the table
the best hand I've
what
had.
Waz
I know.
is shown down.
But now you're saying that, so now I think now that's.
I mean, this is a
really
simple
strong. I can
fold,
beat
right?
King
Ace
Queen
5 of
out.
hearts for 17 bigs.
Yeah, I think he just is enjoying this moment right now because
The camera loves him, and he knows it.
he doesn't have much to think about. Oh, take a sip of his beer. That might help his decision-making process.
Valder does eventually fold. It's a good laydown. By the way, is it a tell when somebody moves all in and doesn't push his chips in the
I
pot?
should have taken way longer, guys. I apologize for letting you get my
Sometimes.
hands. Should've,
You know what else is when somebody calls me on the river and I'm bluffing and they don't even put their chips in. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Hands going in the muck. I know it.
5 remain. When we return, a trip to the goat farm. Closed captioning is brought to you as a public service by the Final Table.
Welcome back to the final table. Let's take a look at the standings halfway through the show. And Antonio, look, your guy Jason, he's
Woohoo! From nothing to a little life, baby.
yeah, Jason's up over 800,000 now. He's more than quadrupled up his starting stack. Phil, your guys come down a little bit, I think.
But my guy still has 2 million. To me, it looks like, Rob, Ben, Dennis, and Jason all have a very similar stack.
So the first half of the action brought us a very interesting hand that I was hoping that Phil and Antonio, as I look at Antonio and Phil, I was hoping you guys would break it down for me, considering you two are the GOATs. Can we take another visit to the goat farm?
Greatest of all time. Did he just call us that? Repeat that again?
Well, I'm sure he thought you greatest of all time, because I'm just your sidekick, Phil. And I'm very happy about it.
Stop, run the hand.
We're here and we're gonna visit the goat farm. Blinds 20,000, 40,000 with a 5K ante. Dennis Stevermeyer under the gun, deuce 5 folds. Rob Wazwaz, pocket 8s, makes it 80K.
I'd like to see him make it a little bit more, but these days people are opening for 80.
And Jason Seitz wakes up with 7s right behind him, calls, and then we get a shove for 611K, a squeeze with Jack 4 suited from Ben Valder.
Wow. Hello, poker.
Are you
Pocket 8s folds? Is that what happened?
Pocket 8s fold. What do you think of the squeeze, first of all, from Jack 4 suited?
Well, I mean, I think it's a very bold move. What he saw was an opportunity to pick up 80,000 plus 80,000 plus another about 80 in blinds and antes. And he's like, you know what? I have 611,000. If I get away with this, I get to add 240,000 to my stack. It's a very aggressive move.
Right, and he's only worried about the opener because Jason just called behind, and so he's not really worried about Jason. And so,
I could take back.
I mean, it's a very risky play. I don't really love it with Jack 4. I'd rather do it with Jack 9 suited, just in case someone has an underpair and both of my overcards play. But
I got to tell you that Antonio would have called with the 8s and the 7s, by the way, and I could have gone either way.
8s for sure I would have called.
Yep.
Well, 8s did fold, and 7s fold as well. So the squeeze play works from Valder. He manages to get 2 better hands to call, 2 hands that were crushing him.
Wow, that was really well played. Valder made a really aggressive move. I'd like to say he had great white magic and could read his opponents were weak, but they weren't so weak. Sometimes people just make a move and it works for whatever reason. Aggression, aggression, aggression.
I mean, look, the Jack 4 hearts came through, but at the end of the day, I think folding the 8s or the 7s is probably a mistake there. If you have a pair and it's 5-handed and the blinds and antes matter so much, sometimes you just got to take a stand and pray.
Guys, I realize I'm not a goat. I'm not a member of the goat farm like you guys, but as far as I'm concerned, this isn't about the aggression working. It's about 2 nits being at the table, folding 8s and 7s. That's crazy.
Calling with 7s and folding, I mean, that's pretty horrendous.
I understand the reasoning, and it just so happened that, his opponent had Jack 4. But if he had Ace-King, does he really want to flip for his tournament? If his opponent had 10s, does he really want to be 4 and after underdog? So I understand the fold.
I'm one to call here. If I have 8s or 7s, even if I'm in a coin flip situation, I'll take it just because I want to try and put myself in a situation where I can win the tournament. I'm not really just trying to move up the pay grade. So I'm going with it.
Thanks, goats. Let's send it on back to David Maria.
Say what you will about Phil and Antonio, but they know their stuff. 5 players remain at the final table. I like this Valder guy.
I'm shocked that nobody's picked Valder because I thought you said that our co-hosts were picking based on looks, and I feel like, nobody's feeling his style.
You would have picked that guy?
Yeah, let's do it again.
I'm sorry, what was the
All in.
Fair enough. He's all in with 5s.
Yes, sir.
Can't drive 55, but he's going to go with the 5s. All in for 586,000 chips, or just a tad under 15 bigs.
Standard all-in ship here, I believe. But Stevermer's going to wake up with Ace-King suited behind him, so certainly reshoving his stack to ISO is the proper play.
Kind of a run-bad spot for Stevermer. I mean, when you get the all-in here, you could very easily be dominating a weaker ace.
Yeah,
it's a bad beat to actually be racing.
Win it right away. Usually wait for the turn.
And you can see that Stevermer has him covered, but not by much. Whoever wins this hand is going to be in good shape. Whoever loses is either going to be out or crippled. And it looks like it's going to be Stevermer. A set there for Valder.
What up, Luke?
He needs running Broadway cards.
No.
He's now drawing dead.
Man.
Deuce on the river, meaningless, but a full house for Valder. And now Stevermer is down to about 2 big blinds.
I've seen people come back from less than 2 big blinds. I'm sure a lot of people out there are familiar with Greg Merson's run in the WSOP main event. I think he came back from something like a big blind, maybe an ante or 2. Either way, don't lose hope. Look at him. Stevermer, sit up. Don't feel defeated.
You're like Tony Robbins.
I just want to give him a pep talk.
I love it. That's what I'm saying. You are the Tony Robbins of the poker world. You kind of look like Tony Robbins as well. A little bit. I mean that in a good way.
Put me in the TV.
Tony Robbins is a good-looking guy. Don't look at me like that.
For life, this guy.
I think you're just trying to deflect from how much you've been hitting on me all day by saying I look like Tony Robbins, but it's okay.
If Tony Robbins was here, I'd definitely be hitting on him. Stephen are all in with the fives. He's all in for 65,000. He's gonna get called. He actually has just a tad over
right.
one
If
big
he wants
blind.
to
I
put it
overstated
more,
it when I said two.
I think he should be happy that he got dealt fives in this spot.
Oh, you're
So
thrilled.
look on the bright side.
65? Make it 190.
Wazwaz is going to raise here with King Jack.
Well, while he does his thing, we're gonna do our
Oh,
thing.
buddy, I thought we were gonna.
It's time for the tank of the day. I know you love this. Hey,
No, I don't.
you have to. Did you try the helium? Did you like the helium? You did.
That's not the same thing.
This could be. Who knows? You don't know exactly where this is gonna go. And look, there it is. Look at that beautiful creature. It's just walking along, no rush,
This is so
stopping to
pointless.
smell the roses. Pointless. This is beautiful. Tanking with 8 deuce. That is pointless.
I mean,
Just 'cause I said I wanted to be-
agreed.
Okay, thank you.
But we've got poker going on. We've got it all in here.
On a completely different note, why did he tank with 8 deuce?
You
I mean,
know,
with the ace 5, at least it was like, okay, there's a decision there. Fives versus King Jack, by the way. Stevemer up against it, and there's a jack for Wazwaz. Stevemer 2 cards away from being eliminated. He needs help. Come on, 5, one time, buddy.
you're going to use your one time for him?
This guy, he likes Chuck Norris. He smokes a mean pork chop.
Well, unfortunately, your one time didn't come through for him.
Well, the boy from Minnesota Lake can go home. Somebody give him my mom's digits.
The walk of shame.
It's not the walk of shame when you got 26 G's in your pocket, but speaking of shame, when we come back, Joe Stapleton's going to get an egg to the face. 4 players remaining after this break.
Well, this is typically the point in the show where we would raise the stakes, but we didn't get that far because Dennis is out, and now because Phil's guy is chip leader, I'm gonna get an egg smashed in my face by him. So I'm just gonna take my jacket off.
Now, I'm going to say that Antonio enjoys delivering pain more than me, so I'm going to give you that.
You're giving me
right.
the honors?
Yes, you have.
Just
that
for no other reason than you want me to.
I know
really,
that
is
you
this really
enjoy
happening?
delivering pain. Yes. I know
In
you're going to
honesty,
enjoy this.
I will enjoy it, but not nearly as much as I would if it was you. But I'll take it. A free egg to the face. I mean, we just started our relationship today, I feel like.
I know.
We know each other, but we haven't really bonded until today. So we go from like a 3 to a 42 instantaneously.
I think you want to cup it somehow like this, maybe, so it just hits your head.
There you
I'll
go.
actually help you. Okay, there you go. Oh,
Mommy and Daddy put me in the nicest clothes.
Wait, Antonio, I'm only worried about like getting some collateral damage.
You won't get any collateral damage. Just hold it
Okay,
up.
I'm going down here below. I'm hiding.
Okay.
Go ahead, do it.
Ready? You mind a little? I want a little thunder, just so it's. I don't want. You want gentle or how
Close my
gentle?
eyes. No, it's fine.
Close your eyes. You ready?
Do what you're gonna do. Oh, there's just no foreplay whatsoever. Just right in there.
That was a bad egging.
Oh my
Wow,
God.
I'm so glad you got out of the way.
Wait, let's help him
I would
clean
have
up.
felt bad.
Let's help him clean up.
You know what they say?
Hold on, make sure it doesn't.
Not in the eyes of the
None
hair.
hits.
Not in the eyes of the hair, and you got them both.
That was.
Dave and Maria, back to you.
You gotta love Stapes.
What'd you say? See, I
Never
don't listen
ceases to
bands,
make me
so
laugh.
I was like, I can't say Tupac.
Button in
know,
front of
He's out
Benjamin
there.
Valder. By the way, Wazwaz is
got,
actually
like, Red Hot Chili
voted
Peppers
as the
or
most
the Roots
punchable
or-
face at the table. Yeah, I'm shaking my head too. I see you shaking your head no. Who would you like to punch the most at this table?
Why do you keep putting me on the spot today?
you go ahead and
I
say
need
it.
to flip this on you.
I'm gonna
So, Wazwaz has been chosen as the most punchable face at the table. Who would you choose, Dave?
I would punch the dealer. The dealer looks like an annoying person. I would do that. No, I think we've kind of talked about it already. Clearly, Johnson, right? Get a raise here from Sights. Sights picks up 7s like every 9 hands.
Yeah, and most of the time, he's not in great shape with sevens. Shockingly. He was up against eights before. Now, Waz has 2 overs, couple of hearts in his hand. Lots of possibilities.
Well, how about not 1 jack, but 2 jacks on the flop? Jack, jack, 5.
Which obviously is great for Waz, but it's bad for Sights because it makes him feel a little bit better about his hand than if just 1 jack came out on the flop,
Oh,
actually.
there's the all-in, and there's the snap call from Waz. Sights in a lot of trouble. I mean, if you've got sevens on this flop, you probably think you're good.
You feel pretty good about it. Can't really blame Sights here.
Well, a 7 and only a 7 will save Sights. That's not a 7, my friends. King of Hearts on the river. Waz is going to double up. Sights loses a little bit more than half his stack.
500, 550.
They continue on 4-handed.
Waz has come out of a couple all-ins and survived today. And you know, for the other players, they love it when one of the players at the table is all-in because they're hoping for that pay jump, for that ladder. And so you can bet that they're never rooting for the all-in player.
No, thanks, Ben Winter.
More blind-on-blind violence about to ensue. Balder in the small blind, Waz in the big blind. These two have battled before. Ben actually with an interesting hand. I mean, he only has 5 high, but I kind of like 5-4 suited.
You and Daniel Negreanu both.
Hey, you know what? There could be worse people that I have something in common with.
It's very, very true.
Waz in there with the 9-3. But there's a 5 on the flop. So Balder with the best of it. He's going to check.
And I don't so much mind when you're in position in a blind versus blind situation to take a stab at the pot. If your opponent's going to check it to you, there's not a whole lot of reason why you shouldn't try to bet your opponent off the hand. It is a small pot. Most of the time, people are pretty easily going to give up on it, if they don't have a piece, of course.
Well, instead, Balder's decided to check raise with middle pair. And it's 90K back over to Waz, who's got nothing. So unless he's going to get crazy, this hand's over, and this hand is over.
No cheers? Honestly, why do I have a rail? Like, what do I need to do? Get walks with kings? Thank you. Slow play aces, yeah.
I have some rules of life. I mean, if you have to beg for applause and beg for friends, it's probably not working for you. More after this. Closed captioning is brought to you as a public service by the Final Table. Hello and welcome back to the Final Table. We are in Minnesota. That's Maria Ho. I'm David Tuckman. And we still have 4 players remaining at our Final Table. Do you ever think it's a coincidence that our show is called the Final Table and we're watching the Final Table?
It's a real head scratcher. Keeps me up at night.
I bet. You know, this seems like as good a time as any for fame or shame. Now, this is where we look at the characters of our show, both players and hosts, as well as mainstream poker world, and decide whether or not to fame or shame them. Now, last week, we had an epic punishment told out to our own Antonio Esfandiari, and I think it's worth a second look.
Sure is.
Gotta cover the mouth.
Oh.
Oh my.
Couldn't do it.
Oh. Wow.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
That is so disgusting. I couldn't do this. Oh my! I'm a little disappointed in him, though. I mean, take it like a man.
I'd like to say that. I don't know if I could do it. I mean, like they said, it's rubbery, it's raw. I don't even know if it's healthy.
I just expect more out of Antonio, though. You know.
Oh my God.
I don't. He looks like a prima donna.
Look at Phil and Joe's face. They're loving this.
Yeah. Joe is thrilled that he didn't finish in second place. Well, his horse didn't finish in second place.
That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Cut the cameras.
There is a poker hand going on, but it's not that interesting, trust me.
10, 9, 8,
Okay, so
7,
Maria,
6, 5,
are we
4,
going to
3,
fame
2.
or
One of
shame
these
him? I mean,
out.
keep in mind, on the surface, it certainly looks shame-worthy, but we're talking about a raw frog leg.
I mean, honestly, all things considered, I have to shame you, Antonio. I'm sorry. You could have just tried a little harder.
Shame. Yeah, I think at least if he had swallowed that second bite, I mean, I give him credit for giving it a second try, but I would have liked to see at least one bite go down. So, the magician, you have been shamed on the final table. Let's get back to the poker. These guys are going to chop this up. Probably.
If Waz can make this call here, they will chop it up. I like that Johnson's trying to bet him off a chop here. I don't know if Johnson knows for sure that he's trying to bet him off a chop, but either way, he's trying to win himself the pot. You can't ever blame somebody for doing that.
Well, I don't think he's betting for value. He's not trying to get called by a jack, is he? I mean, jack high, that is.
Dad's not drinking no duels. Oh, man.
Blinds 30,000, 60,000.
Gordon's not here.
Ben's having a good time.
Like 3X is sold.
That's what it's all about. You make the final table. Doesn't happen every day. Have a good time with it, right?
Doesn't hurt that he also looked down at kings, though.
175.
Raise 175,000.
Exuding confidence, Mr. Valder. He bets 175,000.
If I had anything less than aces here, I'd just straight into the mug.
Really, what are you going to do with ace-king?
Yeah, it's a brutal cooler. It doesn't really matter how comfortable Valder seems. Obviously, you can't fold ace-king in this spot.
I knew it would be mean.
All the chips are going to go in here, I'm sure.
Yeah, Valder raises to 175, the 3-bet to 450. Sights hasn't folded yet. Hold the farm. No. Sights is going to pick a better spot.
Trying to be a young money million, yeah. How would we raise it to?
It's 450,000.
I'm all in.
All in. Call, please show, John.
Have jacks, please.
I had a pair too.
All in and a call.
Please hold, that's all
And
I
I
can do,
believe
man.
it's Waz, whose tournament life was on the line. He is at risk right now.
King's got to be good to me.
He's looking for an ace, though.
Now, Valder, by the way, is not going with the Maria Ho thing. He's standing up and he's ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know why he's doing this to himself. I think he's going to get punished for it.
I'm expecting an ace.
Nah. 10-10.
The wrong guy is standing. I don't get it.
10.
By the way, Waz
the
one
10.
card away from
Why would I get a 10?
elimination. Needs an ace on the river.
Quack, quack. 3 pair, 9s.
It's not a quack quack, but it's not an ace. 5 of diamonds. They're the high fives. As Valder wins a huge pot. And unfortunately, my boy, Waz, has been eliminated. That is Rob Waz, gone in 4th place. He does take home $30,650.
How many times do you want to say Waz right now before he leaves?
Yeah, I was on the right side of the cooler.
Waz. Well, that's going to do it for us. But don't go anywhere, because when we come back, the boys are going to close it out.
Thank you for giving me some action. I appreciate it.
So, as it stands, here are your chip counts for the end of the show.
This your first broadcast with an egg running down your forehead?
Sure is. Probably not my last, though, I'm guessing. Jason bringing up the rear, 925,000 in chips. Roger's got 2.1 million, and Ben has got 2.6 million.
So I think there's around a 33% chance I get egged and 66% chance you get egged.
Wow. You figured that one out all on your own with
Yeah,
no pen and paper. That was strong, Phil Hellmuth.
I can't figure out those odds at all because I have egg in my eye.
And I will be putting the egg in
You
your
won't pass it along this time?
No, will not be passed.
Well, we are out of time this week, but next week, one of these two guys will get an egg in his face as well. That's it for the final table for this episode. I'm Joe Stapleton. He's Phil Hellmuth Jr. He's Antonio Esfandiari. Smell you later.